Hey everyone, my name is Evan, and it's right now 4:17 p.m. and I kind of just woke up, so and I wanted to talk about John Wick 3 because I just watched John Wick 3 last night. It came out a little late in Korea, but I just wanted to give some of my thoughts. First of all, I think Keanu Reeves is having the time of his life right now, the career of his life right now, and I don't think anyone would have guessed that he would have the second wind after the Matrix franchise. And I think this is, I think the highlight of Keanu's career is the John Wick series, not the Matrix series. I'd even go as far to say is it's that much more important and much more groundbreaking for his career. Anyways, on to the movie. All right, so let's talk about the good things. First of all, the action's great. It's better than the second movie. I'd say, is it better than the first movie? Yes. Um, and there's a lot of action here and there all throughout the movie from beginning to end, but it's not like it's action story, action story, action story. It's the action is woven in a way where you don't feel overwhelmed at the same time, but at the same time you don't feel bored in the middle. uh, there is actually a certain sequence in the middle of this movie which might get people bored because it's a large part of the story moving forward, but I personally felt like it was an incredibly important sequence for John Wick's character and how his character evolves in this movie. The action itself also takes a lot of variance, um, a lot of more elements into a fight rather than just smooth gunplay. There is smooth gunplay in this movie, but there's a lot more hand-to-hand combat. There's a lot more using the environment in clever ways in order to get the upper hand. And there are very interesting set pieces, interesting environments in which people can uh, keep on fighting. And this is a thing that I really like about the Netflix Daredevil series and their action is that a lot of these guys don't feel expendable. Um, a lot of these people are not just characters that John Wick kind of raised through. It's more like watching a guy play a Dark Souls game. Every fight, even though it's technically henchman, feels like a challenge, and it feels very tense. And if you make a mistake, you'll probably die. And that is the case in how the action works in this movie. On to some of the more negative things. I found the story to be a little bit. Um, I feel like the ending, especially, got a little bit is a as a half and half for a lot of people. The ending might excite a lot of people, but at the same time, it can also disappoint a lot of people because it kind of ends in an open thread. Uh, Whereas how the character evolves in in the movie, I personally thought I liked the initial direction that they were taking John Wick, but then you kind of realize why some movies are made into trilogies and not made into more further movies because it feels like the path John Wick is taking right now is either a path he's already taken beforehand, or he's just yeah. So basically, it's a path that he's already taken beforehand. So it's kind of like a loop de loop and an endless cycle, or you kind of don't really know where John Wick actually is when it comes to his motivations, when it comes to uh, his emotional arcs. Halle Berry is in this movie. She's great, though sometimes she kind of felt like she was a little overacting a little bit, but she does do a great job in the action. Of course, I've heard the complaint that John Wick's specialty, I guess, it's kind of ruined because Halle Berry can do the same things as John Wick can, but you can actually see in the choreography how she might be a little bit more inexperienced than John and a little bit less skillful than John when it comes to certain areas like hand-to-hand combat, whereas she might be a really good shot, however. Um, so that goes to say towards Halle Berry and that criticism. Uh, Anything else? I'd say there's a lot of fan service in this movie. There are a lot of characters that you know from other franchises that might appear in this movie, and that definitely brought a smile on my face. And I just gotta say, the whole setting is very beautiful. I'm very glad that New York was kind of like the main area for this place because you get a lot more diverse people in New York because New York is like the melting pot of many different cultures. So you get a lot of different people. All right, now talking about the villain. The main villain is an extremely um he's also quite a mixed bag for a lot of people, I'd say. Because you can also make the point, you can make the point that it's an interesting villain. He's a villain that you wouldn't really expect in a movie like this. He's a villain that's kind of new, but at the same time, what kind of threat does he pose to John Wick? Not a lot, I would say, other than the fact that he's a vicious killer, just like John Wick is. So, there's kind of that question, and I don't think people are going to remember him as much in the later John Wick series, but I thought he was a very refreshing take on the movie. And surprisingly enough, I there's a whole video on this on YouTube that I saw. I think it was on Wisecrack about how John Wick is actually really hilarious, and I kind of agree. This movie was a blast. I was laughing with my friend constantly throughout the movie because there's so many references, there's so many fan service moments. There are a lot of humor in between the fights that are woven in the action. And you just gotta say, I just gotta say, it's a blast of a movie. It's well worth the price of a movie ticket. And I definitely think you should go see John Wick. Um, yeah, even though it's been out for quite a while, you should probably watch it again. I'm probably gonna watch it again next week. Anyways, that's what I thought about John Wick 3.